Good morning students. Today we will discuss about the budget deficit. Okay. So about budget deficit we have already discussed in our earlier video. What is budget deficit? Budget deficit also called government deficit. Okay. And when government expenditure are greater than government revenue, or we can say receipts, then there is budget deficit. Okay. Means when government plan budget that there should be expenditure side and revenue side. Okay, expenditure will include both capital and revenue, capital expenditure and revenue expenditure, and in revenue receipts side we include both revenue receipts and capital receipts. Okay, so when government plan expenditure and receipts and expenditure are greater than receipts, then there is budget deficit. For example, your income is 100 rupees and your expenditure is 200 rupees, then your expenditure is greater than your income, then there is deficit. Okay. So there is mainly three types of budget deficit, that is revenue deficit, fiscal deficit and primary deficit. Revenue deficit means when government revenue expenditure are greater than revenue receipts. Okay, means revenue expenditure in revenue receipts we include tax and non-tax receipts. Okay, these are receipts of the government, and revenue expenditure means expenditure of the government on salaries of the people, old age pension, all these are revenue expenditure. Okay, so when these revenue expenditure of the government is greater than revenue receipts of the government, then there is revenue deficit. Okay, so how government recover or fulfill their deficit? By borrowing from the market, by borrowing from the people, by borrowing from the RBI. Okay, or either government reduce their expenditure. Okay, so this we have already discussed in our earlier video. The second is fiscal deficit. Okay, second is fiscal deficit. So what is fiscal deficit? In fiscal deficit we include both revenue expenditure and capital expenditure, and revenue receipts and capital receipts. Okay, so fiscal deficit is equal to total expenditure of the government minus total revenue or total receipts. So in total expenditure we include both capital expenditure and revenue expenditure. Okay, revenue expenditure and capital expenditure, and in total receipts we include both capital receipts and revenue receipts. Okay, so when government total expenditure means capital expenditure or revenue expenditure is greater than or over than their total revenue receipts, means government revenue receipts or capital receipts, then there is fiscal deficit. Okay, so fiscal deficit we calculate total expenditure of the government minus total revenue of the government. Okay, so this is called fiscal deficit. In fiscal, the main difference between total revenue deficit and fiscal deficit is that in revenue deficit we include only revenue expenditure and revenue receipts of the government, but in fiscal deficit we include both revenue expenditure and capital expenditure of the government, and revenue receipts and capital receipts of the government. Okay, so there is some implication of fiscal deficit, that when there is physical deficit, then what government do? Obviously government will borrow money from the RBI, from the market or public enterprises, or from the international market, means from IMF, World Bank. Okay, so what will the effect of all these? when there is fiscal deficit, the first is there will be increase in national debt. National debt. When there is fiscal deficit, then government borrow money from the government RBI or from the international market. So there will be national debt, more national debt on the future generation. Okay, because government is borrowing money to fulfill their deficit. So obviously, future generation will pay this money. There will be burden on the future generation. So there is national debt, increase in national debt due to fiscal deficit. The second is inflationary spiral. Inflationary spiral in the market. What it means? It means when there is fiscal deficit, then government borrow money from the RBI, and due to borrowing money from the RBI, there is increase in the money supply in the market. Due to increase in the money supply in the market, there is more purchasing power, and due to more purchasing power, there is more demand of the goods, and more demand of the goods means there is increase in the prices of the goods. Increase in the prices of the goods means there is inflation in the market, and there will also be demand to increase the wages of the workers. Okay, so there will be inflationary spiral in the market. The third is crowding out effect. Crowding out effect. What it means when there is fiscal deficit in the market, in the government budget, so government borrow money, and due to borrowing more fund, there is lack of credit availability in the banking system or in the credit system. So the private investor face the problem of credit. So they will avoid to invest in the market. So there will be crowding out effect, means the private investor will leave the market. They will not invest in the market because of lack of credit. Because government borrow more money from the market, and due to that there is lack of credit in the system, and due to lack of credit, the private investor will avoid to invest in the market. So they will out from the market. So there is crowding out. Next is vicious cycle of deficit, vicious cycle of deficit and low GDP, low GDP. What it means when government borrow more and more money, then there is a cycle of deficit. Means when for example there is a farmer, and the farmer borrow money, he is having 5 hectare land, and the farmer borrow money to fertilize or to grow crop in his field. So due to some natural calamities, there is the crop destroy of the farmer, and the farmer is not able to repay the loan, and due to the destroy of a crop, he is not able to repay the loan. Instead, he take more loan for the next crop, okay, to purchase the inputs and pesticide to grow next crop. So the farmer going trap of debt, means he going debt trap. Like that, government borrow more and more money to fulfill their deficit. So there will be a vicious cycle of deficit, and due to that there will be low GDP, because government will not do expenditure on the social infrastructure, or we can say on the public welfare program. So there will be, due to lack of public welfare, there will be less people income to the people. Less income means there is less demand of the goods, and because of that there is less GDP. So because of more deficit, there is low growth of GDP. Okay. So the next point is primary deficit. Okay. Primary deficit. So primary deficit is equal to fiscal deficit minus interest deficit is that in fiscal deficit the interest payment are included, but in primary deficit interest payment are excluded. Means primary deficit shows only borrowing of the government, expenditure and receipts of the government for current year. In primary deficit, we do not include interest payment because interest payment are excluded in primary deficit. Okay, so these are our three types deficit. First is revenue deficit, fiscal deficit and primary deficit. Okay, so watch the video. Also practice by writing these formulas in your notebook. Any doubt, any query, you are free to ask. Thank you, students.